Ask everyone to do the flag salute. There we go. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
of the
States
United
of
States
America,
of America,
and to the
and to the
republic for
republic
which
which
stands
stands
one
one
nation
nation under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty
and
and
justice for all.
justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, will the clerk call roll, please?
Counselor Bolin,
Here.
Counselor Dykstra,
Here,
Here.
Counselor Grisel,
Here.
Counselor Steinhebel,
Here.
Counselor Reeskamp.
Here.
Thank you. At this point, we'll have the swearing in, the city recorder, Kim Schaefer.
Okay, Kim Olfers, please state your name after I say I, then repeat after me. I
Kim Olfers,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the United States Constitution,
that I will support the United States Constitution,
Oregon Constitution,
Oregon Constitution,
and the Charter and laws of the City of Lebanon,
and the Charter and laws of the City of Lebanon,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
for which I have been appointed.
for which I have been appointed.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome, KJ.
Parker.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the consent calendar. The one thing I will bring up, the Albany Eastern Railroad North Lobby lease agreement. Nancy Brewer has a comment on that, our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't miss getting a rental fee included for the days that the railroad uses the main room in the San Am travel station. We've been emailing back and forth. They are amenable to adding that. So before we sign the final agreement, that will be added in. We just need to make sure that we negotiate and have the same rate in that agreement. So I just wanted to make sure that that was called to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. And it was just that everything else was okay in that agreement. It was just the rate wasn't in there if they used the whole building, which they don't normally do, but at times they might. So
Right.
we've got the council agenda from October 13th, got the planning commission appointment of Christina Brashears, council minutes from September 8th, 2021, easements, Airport Road and Stoltz Hill traffic signal utility easement, and right-of-way Primrose Extension River Road reconstruction project. See, I think that's it. And that is it. I will take a motion for the consent calendar.
I make a motion, we accept the consent calendar, Mayor.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to accept the consent calendar, knowing that the agreement will be slightly changed to include these in the agreement. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? The consent calendar has passed. Thank you, Nancy. Proclamation presentation, and just to torture Rebecca, I have one to read first, and that will be the Extra Mile Day, November 1st, 2021. Proclamation, whereas Lebanon is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas the city of Lebanon encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas our community chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations who go that extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow community members. And whereas Lebanon acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2021. Now, therefore, I, Paul R. Aziz, Mayor of Lebanon, do hereby proclaim November 21st, 2021 as Extra Mile Day. I urge each individual in the community to take time this day not only to go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and a commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place. And lastly, I have a recognition for Rebecca Grizzle. And yes, you. And Rebecca served on city council. How many years did you serve the first time? Do you remember?
5.
5 years. And then took a hiatus. And then when myself, Jason Bolin, and some other candidates ran, trying to think if there's anybody else on council at that time.
I was reappointed right before before that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I finished the rest of Margaret took over from me, and then I finished the rest of that term. So.
Okay. And then you ran in 2012 again.
Correct.
And you've been in since 2012. So we're giving her a plaque. Unfortunately, we have to do this through Zoom. City Council, Rebecca Grizzle, City Councilor, Ward 2, January 2013 through October 2021, in recognition of appreciation over 8 years of commitment, accomplishments, and contributions to the city of Lebanon. It's much more than 8. And I honestly, and I'm not joking, but I honestly will miss you on the council. You have a wisdom and just a really good look at things, and sometimes different than I would look at things. We didn't always agree on things, but I appreciated working with you, and I'm going to really miss you. I know not everybody's going to miss you, but I am going to.
I want to say that I'm so grateful for this group of, especially in the world we live in today, and everybody's so politically polarized. And this is a really the political, I guess, the political views of everybody on this group are so varied, and yet we seem to work cohesively together. And that is my wish for Lebanon going into the future. And I feel good about the group that is left behind here to be able to work together and to talk and to not agree, but to not agree in a civil way, and then to move on to the next issue and to continue to work together. And so I've been really pleased with that. And our city staff, I can't say enough about what a pleasure it's been to work with our leadership group and everybody at the city. So I'm not going very far, but I'm really very grateful for my experience here, and I'm grateful to be leaving. So
Well, thank you. And with that, I'm going to open it up to counselors that would like to comment and wish her whatever you'd like to wish her. Somebody's going to want to have to say something.
Well, I'll be
It's okay.
first. I just want to show my appreciation and thank Miss Rebecca for her guidance and helping me be here. And we've had some extensive conversation about some new regulations in the streets here in Lebanon. So we're going to probably move forward with that later on. I'm not going to say it so nobody else takes it.
Don't you do it, G.
But just want to thank you for your guidance and for me being able to bounce things off of you, and I appreciate it. And I think we're going to continue to do some great things in Lebanon. So look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rebecca, you've been good to work with. A pain to sit next to for 4 years, but good to work with. And I do appreciate your commitment. I appreciate the time you put in for the city. And I think it's going to be relevant to everybody that you made an impact here, whether it was through your actions or through your hideous frames that you wear. We've all had a impact thanks to you. So appreciate your time and your effort, and we'll see you around town.
Thank you, Jason.
Becca, I just would like to servant of the community, and it's been a pleasure having you sat beside me the last few years. And I wish you the very best in your endeavors, and thank you so much for being the counselor that you were, and the views that you brought to this group as we had discussions about various agenda items. Always appreciated your opinion, and just the best of luck to you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah, I echo everybody's comments here. Rebecca, I also want to note that I guess without being on council, you'll have some volunteer time available for the community. So I will get right on that, plugging you in somewhere. No, but in all seriousness, I will miss sitting next to you, and I'll still have Trey on the other side someday when we go back to the council chambers. But I guess I'll have KJ there, so that'll be. I'm kind of
sorry about that.
one honoring one for another. So no, it has been a pleasure working with you, and I'm glad this is not goodbye forever, just goodbye on Zoom, I guess. So thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you. Okay.
Is that it? Anybody else? Got to give everybody a chance.
That's okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Rebecca. And the
Thank
one
you
thing
all.
I mentioned too is I really appreciated your attention to constituents, because there were times when you brought things to council and things got changed. And that was a direct result of your caring about the people and bringing it to council. So I really appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for all you
Thank
do
you.
on the chamber also.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a great meeting.
Bye.
Are you leaving?
She's going to bed.
True.
I will watch this tomorrow. I am
Right.
going to bed.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next up, we have the annual risk report presented by Hub International Northwest LLC. And go ahead. I don't know who we
Thanks.
have.
I'll
Erling's here.
hopefully can be able to share my screen and can go through my report.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, good. Thank you all. It's a pleasure every year to come to the Lebanon City Council meeting and to kind of bring you up to date on the state of the city's insurance program. We'll start off with kind of an update of what we have in place for 2021. Start off with the property. We did make some changes in the property schedule. We still had the old water treatment facility on at full value for the last couple of years. And so Matt and I worked on reducing that value down to more of a demolition cost basis. If there's something happens to the buildings, we would just use the money to demolish them. So we reduced the values. So the values went down from 115 million to 109 to reflect that change. We did do a normal 3% increase on the buildings and 2% on contents for inflation that city county recommends. So we did that again this year. Mobile equipment, we made some changes in that, added some equipment for there. One thing we talked about last time is that city county decided, because of the condition of City Hall, not to keep earthquake insurance on it. So they excluded City Hall from the earthquake coverage. So that happened July 1 last year, 2020. We did go out to the market and acquire a freestanding earthquake policy for the City Hall. So it's at $5,500,000 to cover not only the building, but contents and also any loss of use, loss of rents that would have if we had to rent another facility. And that annual premium was $14,500. So we put that in place this year, which is new. Crime coverage, again, pretty much stayed the same. We increased it in 2020 from 250,000 to 500,000. At the same time, we eliminated the bonds for the city manager and finance director. It was felt that city county provided that coverage. And so we increased the limit to provide, to make sure that we had adequate limits for that. The tort liability coverages, some of the changes we made this year was increase the deductible. We went away from an aggregate every year deductible of $25,000 to $2,500 per occurrence deductible last year. It made more sense to look at it because you didn't have frequency issues, you had more severity issues. So we took a look at that and tweaked it last year to be more in line with retaining at least some small portion of the loss versus having to cover everything up to the first $25,000. And that's done well for the city last year. And we think it's going to go even better this year by taking a little higher limit. Auto physical damage, really no changes there. Cyber coverage, no changes there. Cyber has been increasing. We see cyber coverage is increasing every year. 20% isn't unrealistic given what the marketplace is for cyber. We still have the voluntary accident policies, underground storage tank pollution policies, and then the last two items were the bonds I mentioned that were replaced in 2020. Moving on to kind of the history, you've got, you had one small loss in 2020 under property lines, but mostly it's been pretty stable as far as no losses from that standpoint. And liability, we've had some peaks in this. We've had the 18-19 year was severely affected. We had total claims of $540,000. Another little blimp in 1920 up to 247,000. This includes some reserves on open claims, so it might not close out to be those numbers, but that's what they are right now. And last year was phenomenal. You only had a total of $8,000 in claims, so phenomenal year for the city from that perspective. You take a look at losses, again, most of the claims in the last 5 years have been from the police department. So you had 611,000 from police claims, 60,000 from public works. Finance had a employment practices claim that settled out for high figures in 118,000. That was a total. So that's all reflected in these numbers. Auto liability, again, the 1920 year has been the year that you had the most losses in auto in the last 5, 63,900 total losses there. Last year again was a pretty good year at 5,200 for losses. And again, the losses primarily were the transit. It was a pedestrian hit by the transit bus that caused the bulk of that loss. Police had a couple of other losses for liability, and public works had one. Auto physical damage, again, has been pretty stable. You haven't had very many losses. Again, 18-19 had the highest, 14,000. That was a couple of police vehicles. And then 19-20, again, hardly any at 2,700. Again, the police departments had the most because of some fender benders over the last 5 years. So total, you average in the last 5 years about 12 claims a year. Average incurred cost because of some of these high years has been $200,000 average per year, and average per claim has been $17,250. Claims by line, again, you've been averaging in the past about 4 claims for auto liability. Last year was great at 2. In auto physical damage, you've been averaging about 3. General liability, again, the high was 9, but you've been averaging about 6 a year. And you've only had 1 property claim in the last 5 years. Workers' comp, unfortunately, has not been trending very favorably. You've had some bad loss years. Last year, the 2021 year, you had 184,000 of losses. That didn't really affect the premium this year. Your premium pretty much stayed the same. This is collected year to date. Again, for the first quarter, you had 24,000 that's been paid in for workers' comp. But we anticipate the workers' comp experience mod to jump up. It's a 0.82 this year. It's trending right now at about a 114. So about a 32% increase in your workers' comp costs, looking at 2022 to 23. I know that the city, both Matt and Angela have been working with City County Insurance Services loss control person who's now assigned to City of Lebanon for all lines, including workers' comp. So they're working together on trying to find some tools to start turning the corner on the losses and trying to get these back in check. The biggest thing has been time loss days. You've had 2 time loss claims with 238,000 of time loss days, and those are tough because you're paying wages and it's basically having them off work. So if we can get them back to work, it's usually better and reduces the total claims cost. But unfortunately, on some of these claims, we couldn't get the employees back to work. Under the workers' comp by department, again, police has been the hardest hit at 160,000. Public Works, we were able to break it down a little bit farther just to show you, how many claims and this or dollars in the street department, water department, sewer and buildings, and pretty minor. Senior Citizens Center had a couple of claims for 21,000, but other than that, it's been pretty stable from there. Any questions? Again, it's a pleasure to serve the city of Lebanon in this capacity. We do a lot of work with Matt. We had a lot of conversation with Andy on the cyber renewal this year. There was a lot of questions on protocols and everything in place. And I think that went pretty well to get that finalized. So overall, I think you're in great shape, and we just need to tweak a few things on the workers' comp, and we'll be in good shape.
So Steve, this is Merzis.
Yeah.
Even with the increase in cyber crime and the stuff I'm seeing in the news, we're not looking at having to increase that at all.
Well, we have the basic policy provides $50,000, and we're buying the highest amount that city county offers, which is another 950,000. So we have $1 million limit. 50,000 provided by the liability policy as a basic limit they provide everyone, and then the cities have a choice of purchasing additional limits up to the 950,000. So we've maxed out what CIS has to offer. That being said, there really hasn't been any claims in Oregon for public entities that have exceeded that. There's some national claims that have gone over that, but for Oregon, the feeling is both the trust as a whole and most cities that the $1 million is probably adequate to cover any losses that might come under the cyber. The nice thing to have to remember is that you have a very focal IT department that looks at every risk to make sure that you're not being at risk. You're not going to be hacked. You're not going to be shut down for an extortion claim. So we're really confident that the policies and procedures that the city has put in place with Andy and his group have really, stopped some of those bad things from happening at the city.
Great. Okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Yep. Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay. Can we see anything yet? If Steve's still there, I think you need to release your desktop. I think he's off. There we go.
Working on that. Yeah, there we go.
There.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you, Brent.
Absolutely.
Okay. Kim, do we have any public comments registered?
No, there are two people online that have registered to speak.
Okay. And do we have names on those folks or?
Yes, Cassie is one of them.
Okay. And
Just a second, probably pulling up my email. They registered late.
no problem.
Lindsay Payron. And she wants to speak about the city plan, and Cassie wants to give an update on the LDA.
Okay, great, thank you. Is Cassie in the room? Or can we bring her in the room?
Yeah, I'm.
Can, absolutely.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Cassie.
Hey, how are you guys all doing?
Good, go ahead and you got your time to let us know what's going on.
Absolutely. I actually kind of like the council to know kind of, and everyone, Nancy and Paul, that everything's been going on with the LDA. I had an awesome opportunity because, as you know, we're part of the Oregon Main Street Conference, which is a part of the Park and Rec Department of here in Oregon. And I sat through a week-long conference, and one of the first meetings we were in was about a gentleman who was called the City Love Guy. And he talked about loving your city. When people love their city, they're more invested. And he's giving tons of great ideas of just initiatives that we can have and do. And as I'm sitting there, I don't know if I text Alicia and Kelly Hart, but I messaged both of them and I said, oh goodness, I have so many ideas. I'm so excited to work together. Just a lot of ideas around art, and especially with us attaining the Arts Commission, which thank you very much for that, because it just allows us the ability to really move forward on different initiatives to kind of keep our city clean and safe, and and to keep potential unwanted markings off of buildings and other items in our community. So but I more than just that aspect of it, just a lot of great information was given. We had several board members excuse me, that had attended that event, and a couple committee members. So a lot of great information came out from that. But to kind of also continue on like LDA stuff that we've been working on, we have long awaited, we have our wine and art walk coming together, and that will be here on November 5th. So for those who are interested in participating in that, please come on downtown and purchase your tokens and your glass and come try some great either spirits or brews and wine. And of course, this year, we did not do last year, but we're doing this year, is we're having the downtown trick or treat. I'm not asking to close the highway. It'll be kind of like how I did it back in 2019, leaving that open and then just having the traffic control to make sure that people are being mindful and following the rules of the road. But I'm excited. We have not only our people, community members excited, we have the businesses are even super excited about this. So I'm, me, I'm already a bubbly person as it is by nature. So, I'm just up and down jumping excited about this as well. So it just feels good to feel like we're back in the swing of things. Our committees of all are meeting to get the plan ready for 2022, especially as we've grown with the inclusion of the Arts Commission. So it feels good. I just did a presentation to the Lebanon Rotary today, and the headline of that was, downtown progression for better days. And we are definitely reaching that. So please come out for the wine walk. If you can make out downtown trick or treat or want to participate, please do. And if you guys have any questions about things that are going on or about that conference I went to, let me know.
Hey, Cassie, I just had one question. You said the street is not going to be closed for the Main Street trick or treating?
No, I'm not asking ODOT to close the highway this year.
Okay, I could have sworn, it might have just been me, I misread, but I could have sworn that there was information that went out on Facebook that said it was going to be closed.
Oh, let me relook at that then. Thank you. I need to make sure that's not the case.
And that was like a week or two ago. So it might have, like I said, it might have just been me, but I was surprised to see that we were going to do that, but I was excited. So whatever you're going to do.
I would love to, but last year when I asked ODOT thinking it would create more distance, my email was used in a state call, like almost for verbatim, saying, this is why we're not going to. And I'm like, okay. Fine, I won't be that kid who asked. I'll just wait. But I'll double check that because I don't want to give some false information. So thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's clear message because I thought it was, but again, it might have been me.
I'll check.
so excited to see things being more back to normal.
Absolutely. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Anything else, anyone? Okay, thank you, Cassie.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Mayor,
next-
it appears Lindsay registered, but she didn't log on, so she's not on.
Okay. Okay. So I won't ask for Lindsay to speak then at this point. At this point, then we're all done with the public comments, and we will move into the meeting part. We will move into item number 1, a public hearing. And the public hearing is for annexation A210104. And it is now open at 6:30 p.m. Your patience is appreciated as our city attorney goes through the requested hearing process.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council will follow the quasi-judicial hearing procedures set forth in ORS 197.763. At the commencement of the hearing, we'll ask councilors to announce any ex parte contact or conflicts of interest. The hearing will start with the staff report, and it will be presented by staff, which the staff believes is relevant to the identified criteria from the city's comprehensive plan or land use regulations. We'll then allow for questions of staff by the council. We'll then open it up to public testimony. The audience may provide oral or written testimony concerning issues relevant to the hearing. Please note, failure to raise an issue, including constitutional issues or other issues related to the proposed conditions of approval, if any, accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the city council and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issues, will preclude an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals. We'll then have all testimony. We'll start with the proponent of the application and any supporters, and then have opponents of the application, and then rebuttal if necessary. We'll then close the public hearing, at which point all discussion will be among city council and staff only. A decision may be made tonight. The decision should be either to approve the application or to deny the application or approve with conditions. If there are no questions, we can open the public hearing and ask for conflicts of interest or bias.
Okay, do any councilors wish to declare ex parte contact, conflict, or bias in this case? Okay, I see none. Have any comments regarding objections to the notice that was sent in this case to the jurisdiction of this body to hear and consider the case been received?
No, sir.
Thank you. And will the Community Development Director please present the staff report?
Yes, sir. Before you tonight is a request to annex a approximately half-acre parcel that is located on the north side of Walker Road and east of Stoltz Hill Road. The property is located within the city's urban growth boundary and has a comprehensive plan designation of residential mixed density. And consistent with the requirements of the Lebanon Development Code and the Annexation Ordinance, the land designation corresponding with the comprehensive plan would be residential mixed density, and the applicant has indicated a willingness to accept that land use designation as part of this annexation. The property is contiguous to city boundaries on the east and south side of the property, which means that it is eligible for annexation. And the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing during their September 15th meeting, and they found that the application complied with the decision criteria contained in the development code, which has also been provided to the City Council for consideration as an attachment to the staff report. And based off of the fact that it is a contiguous property to the existing city limits, it's within the urban growth boundary, and they are accepting the zoning designation. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended the City Council approve the proposed annexation. And so with that, I will conclude my staff report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, does council have any questions of staff? Seeing none, has the Community Development Director received any comments on the public hearing?
No, sir, we do have the applicant representative available if you have any questions for them, but they haven't indicated a desire to speak on the application.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:34 p.m. Any other council discussion? Will the city attorney please read the title of the ordinance?
Ordinance bill number 2021-15, ordinance number 2971, a bill for an ordinance annexing and zoning property following consent filed with the city council by landowners in said area pursuant to ORS 222.120 and ORS 222.170. File A21-04, Goodwell Land LLC.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 2971. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, the annexation has been approved. Thank you, Kelly. Number 2, authorizing acceptance and appropriation of Ford Family Foundation grant. Kelly Hart.
Thank you again, sir. So as we have indicated and reported on in several other previous council meetings, the city has been awarded a rare student to work with us over the next year. That funding for the city's contribution for the rare student is $23,500. We were approached by the Ford Family Foundation to apply for a grant through them to partially fund the rare student and the city's contribution. And that grant was for $10,000. We had applied for that grant and received it. And now at this point, we need the city council to take an action if they wish to accept the grant and also appropriate the funds by resolution to the general fund non-departmental materials and services fund. So with that, I'll conclude my report and answer any questions.
Okay, any questions, staff?
The student will be chosen how?
The student has already been chosen through an extensive application and interview process with the 3 directors that are working with the student. And Mr. John Kuhn has already been working with the city, I believe, for the last 3 weeks already on a number of different applications.
Any other questions?
Look forward to meeting him. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll have the city attorney read the resolution title.
Resolution number 2021-23, a resolution authorizing acceptance and the appropriation of Ford Family Foundation grant to help fund the rare student and authorizing the city manager to execute the associated documents.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2021-23. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? The resolution passes. Thank you again, Kelly. Next up, North Williams, number 3, North Williams Street Storm Drainage Improvement Bid Award Project number 21706. Ron Whitlatch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. What we have before you tonight is a recommendation to award the North Williams Street Drainage Improvements Project. Back in 2020, we had a section of pipe actually collapse that serves the industrial area off North Williams Street. So it basically left that non-existent outfall to Mark's Slough. So we were trying to replace that. We budgeted $75,000 this year to replace it. In normal years, that probably would have been enough. We went out and solicited 3 different quotes, lowest of which was $127,000. Based on ORS and our municipal code, anything over 100,000 needs to be a formal solicitation. So we did that on the 19th of September. We advertised for bids for the North Williams Street Drainage Improvements Project. We received the 8 bids that you see below. Of those, the low was Pacific Excavation at $122,285. So we're recommending that we award that. On top of that, this year we carried over approximately $108,000 in the Storm Drainage Utility Fund that has not been allocated. And we'll probably or likely be bringing a budget amendment back to the council to allow for use of these funds, which would help offset the cost here. We're still waiting on a couple other little projects that wrap up, so it may or may not need a budget amendment based on what we have available so far. So keep in mind that it's possible we would need to do that on top of the award to make this project happen. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Ron, Mr. G here, would you kindly just reiterate for anybody who's watching how we choose the bids in terms of lowest and what do we have to choose?
So we take the lowest responsible bid that we get, and responsible means that they've filled out all their bid forms, everything's appropriate. They're qualified to work on public works projects. Everything's in order in this case, and you do that based on the lowest bid received. And if the lowest bid you receive does not meet all those standards, then you go to the next lowest bid. But in this case, the bidder meets all that, so it's selected by the lowest responsible bidder.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the project number 21706. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, number 4, repealing resolution number 2021 and approving public service rate increases. Matt Apkin, Finance Director.
Mayor and City Council, hope you're having a good evening.
Hello, Matt.
Back in 2014, Council approved a ordinance or a resolution that provided for the way that we increase garbage rates. And per the franchise agreement that we have with the Republic Services, they require that we come back annually and do a resolution to formally approve the new rates for the next year. And so that's what this is about. If you look at the report that Republic Services provided, there was an increase in wages, diesel fuel, and disposal costs. We use a formula to average that out to come up with a cost of living adjustment that we're going to do. And this year that increase was 5.9% or $1.21 per month for average residential service. We've gone over with Republic Services over the past couple of years through some discussions to make sure that the amounts they're charging and what the city pays or the city residents pay is reasonable. We've come to that determination that it is, and would recommend that council approve this increase of $1.21 a month. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
One comment I wanted to make about the Republic Services, and I don't know, is Julie Jackson on the line with us or not?
Julie didn't join us today.
Okay, I was just curious. In the past, I know Councilor Bolin, I know myself, we've had several years where there's been some pretty bad customer service and some poor service from Republic, and we made complaints about it. We brought it up in public meeting. And over time, in my opinion, I don't know how Councilor Bolin feels about this, but it seems like things have improved quite a bit. Their website has gotten better. It's easier to pay. It's easier to find things. They're not leaving trash cans all over the place. It just seems like it's been better. And then they even offered, I believe, was it last year, to have counselors ride along with them? Did you do that, Michelle? Oh, okay. I think Karen did. I think Karen Stouter.
Yes, Councilor Stouter did it.
Yeah. And so I've been impressed. I think they've kind of tightened up their customer service things. And I know we were always frustrated when they came to us with a rate, but I think that this newer format where we're actually getting a percentage and it's cost of living and they provide us with the numbers, I feel is a little bit better than it used to be. Then there used to be just this automatic increase every year and it was just terrifying. So I think that this is a lot better, but that's my opinion. Any other comments that you guys want to make? Jason, are you there? I was just curious if you had any comments on that.
No, I haven't heard the complaints as of late, I guess. I know when you complained, I had a couple people also complain around the same time. So it kind of seemed like maybe we were kind of ganging up on them, but I haven't had the complaints lately, and I haven't noticed any of my cans being thrown around the street lately either. So, but I know it's difficult for people to swallow a 6% COLA at this time, but everything is, everything's expensive, even in the service industry like that. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks. That's just kind of what I want to know, if you've seen a little bit of an increase in better service. So, okay. Anything else, anyone?
Mayor?
Yes.
For the public, I'd also like to say that Matt, Miss Nancy, and the rest of the team, they're geniuses over there, and they really, really, really work hard to keep our costs low. And I know we come to these meetings and it's always an increase, but they work really hard to keep things as reasonable as possible. And I just want to say that publicly and thank them for their hard work and continued service to the community. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Miss Nancy, and everyone else.
Very good. Okay, any other questions? Comments? With that, we'll have the city attorney read the resolution name. Title.
Resolution number 2021-24, resolution repealing resolution number 2020-21 and approving Republic Services rate increases.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve resolution 2021-24. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed?
No,
There was one.
no, from me.
Thank you. Okay, the motion passed, or the resolution passes with one no vote. Number 5, repealing ordinances regarding chapter 13.20 ambulance service of the Lebanon Municipal Code. City Manager Nancy Brewer is going to present this.
Thank you. We have 2 ordinances, one staff report that goes with them. Just en route to looking for other information, we stumbled on the chapter that speaks about having ambulance services, and in some research that apparently was put in place during a brief period when the city operated the fire department. Since the fire department is a separate district and they operate the ambulance service, we feel like we can remove that from our code. And then your next item on the agenda is removing 13.25, the municipal railroad utility, which I must admit, when I saw that, I got excited because it said that we could charge for railroad service, and we don't. And I thought, there's our revenue, general fund balance, we're good. But again, through some research, found out that we actually surplused the property in 2010 and sold it in 2012. And so we don't have a municipal railroad and can't use that as a revenue alternative for us here. But that probably also means we don't need the chapter in the code. So these are just 2 ordinances that rescind chapters that we don't need any longer. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll have the city attorney read the title of the first ordinance bill.
Ordinance bill number 2021-16, ordinance number 2972. A, bill for an ordinance repealing ordinance number 1980-49, ordinance number 1815, and ordinance bill number 1986-02, ordinance number 1986 regarding chapter 13.20 ambulance service of the Lebanon Municipal Code.
So moved.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, it was. It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance bill number 2021-16. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, and that is approved. And the following, number 6, repealing ordinance bill 1986-12 regarding the municipal railroad of the Lebanon Municipal Code. And we'll have the city, is there any questions on that one specifically? It's the same basically as the other one. It's really a cleanup of our code.
Mhm.
Okay. With that, we'll have the city attorney read the ordinance number or title.
Ordinance bill number 2021-17, ordinance number 2973, a bill for an ordinance repealing ordinance bill number 86-12, ordinance number 1996 regarding chapter 13.24 Municipal Railroad of the Lebanon Municipal Code.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance bill 2021-17. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, the ordinance is approved. And last up, we have city manager's report. Nancy Brewer, city manager.
Thank you. As noted in my written report, I just, big kudos to the police department, Chief Stevenson, Dale Johnson for the Flag of Honor Across America ceremony that was done here on September 11th. It was a really well done ceremony. I actually was disappointed that that didn't make the newspaper coverage as much as Albany did. But it was solemn and it was moving and it was well managed and worked really well. So really super proud of our police department for that. Just a reminder, next Friday is a League of Oregon Cities meeting. They're still looking for someone. The business meeting it's all Zoom, will just be 11:45 to 12:30. I will be sitting in on that. They're going to have a session on legislation that came out about police operations that came through the 2021 legislative session. There were a number of changes for how police departments will be operating that will be rolling out over the next several years. And then they're also having a session on what we know, hopefully by next week, about the president's mandate on vaccinations or testing for employers with more than 100 employees. We do have more than 100 employees, so we will be subject to that. And I want to be sure that we understand as much as we can about how that will roll out. So I'll be sitting in, but if anybody else would like to, the league needs to know who our voting member is if we're going to have one other than me. So if you'll just let me know, I'd appreciate that. Wanted to let you all know that for the City Hall project, we are meeting weekly with McKinsey Architects. We have been notified by Lynn County that they are interested in having the Justice Court move with us to the Academy Square parcel. And so we are folding them in for conversations. Lynn County, it's an additional $5,000 in work in the current year. Lynn County will pay us for that. And we will be coming probably at the next meeting with an intergovernmental agreement to specify those terms, but they needed to get in, so the space allocations that are being, it doesn't slow down our project to get Lynn County roped in. We are looking at some concepts that would have the courtroom use the council chambers when there's court in session during the day. Council uses that same space in the evening to try and make really good use of the space in the building. And not end up with two pretty sizable areas that sit empty for a good chunk of any given day. So that is underway. We are tentatively planning on a January work session with the council to talk about some possible layouts, different siting locations on the Academy Square block, and likely costs to see where we go forward with that project after that point. And my last item, we are scheduling an executive session for October 27th at the noon meeting time to talk about real estate. This is a follow-on to the executive session we had a couple of months ago to bring the council up to date on some issues. So if you can plan on that, I expect it will be a Zoom meeting. Actually, I know it will be a Zoom meeting because Kim's already drafted the announcement to go out tomorrow. Just to get that onto everybody's calendar. If you would not be able to make that, let me know, and we'll see what we can do about working around that. So that's all that I had for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Items from council. I have one item. With Rebecca leaving, we have an opening on the Trees and Trails Committee for representative from the council. I'd like to get a volunteer from council to sit on the Trees and Trails Committee. Is there someone that would like to do that? I hate to voluntold.
Well, we do have a new counselor.
Anyone?
That's probably something I can do.
Kamal, you want to do it?
Sure, I don't see why
Okay.
not.
I think you'd be good on that. Might be along with some of the things you want to work on anyway. So,
Right, right.
okay. Thank you, Camille. Appreciate that. And
Said the guy that's cutting down all his trees on his lot. Yeah,
Yes.
really good for that.
or the trail is going to be running through his house he didn't know about.
Feel
Yeah.
free to come help me pick up the leaves on the roof at that.
Is there any other items from council?
Mayor,
Yes.
I think we need to talk about this letter that we got from Lindsay Person.
Okay.
I think everybody got it. I'm not sure.
Okay. Did everybody read that? And I think that might have been the person that was signed up to speak that didn't show up.
No, I did not get it.
You didn't get it, KJ? Okay.
No, ma'am. Sure.
I've got it in front of me. If I could read it, would that be
Go ahead.
okay?
Go ahead, Wayne. Sure.
It says, I hope you're doing well. I'm reaching out to you as I sure you've heard about OSHA showing up to Sugar Vibes today with a warrant. Supposedly it was gotten within Lynn County. After speaking with Lynn County Court, they say that they are not issuing any warrants with or for OSHA. Our town, county, and surrounding towns need to make a stance. We need to stand behind all of our small businesses that are not causing COVID to increase in the spread. They are not causing harm to any of our residents. They're working within the city, county, and state guidelines and licensure in order to run their businesses here in our town. We as citizens of the state of Oregon are only asking to continue to work, continue to run businesses without being harassed by these government hounds. We need to make a city ordinance and a county ordinance that OSHA is not accepted. OSHA is not allowed to come in and harass, belittle, intimidate, and push these unlawful, unconstitutional mandates on our citizens any further. We, the citizens of Lebanon, of Lynn County, are not going to stand for this. You are an elected official, and we are seeking your guidance. This email is not to seek for you to read it and reply with our hands are tied. Our hands are not tied. These are ways that we can go about this. We need to come together as a community, put all of these brilliant, educated individuals together and come up with a plan. We cannot sit idly as this continues to happen. Please hear the plea of the citizens that you chose to speak on behalf of. Start speaking on behalf of the citizens.
Thank you, Wayne. I received also.
My
Go ahead.
initial response was that we need to do a stance, but I'm not sure what legally we can do.
Yeah, and I've responded to Lindsay a couple different times online and in email. And what I've explained is that we as a city obtain our power from the state. The state gives us our power to even be a city. We have no jurisdiction over OSHA. There's nothing we can do as a city to prevent them from coming in and enforcing laws or rules or whatever you call them, administrative things with businesses. And if a businesses choose to violate OSHA regulations and OSHA comes in, there is nothing that the city can do to stop that. In the case of the Sugar Vibes, from everything I've seen and also talking with Nancy and the captain, the officers that responded to that case, they were only there to keep the peace because it was becoming kind of an angry mob situation where a lot of people were really kind of intimidating the OSHA inspectors. So they were really there to keep the peace. The police were not there to enforce the law. They were not there to enforce any mandates or anything like that. It was just to keep the peace. And so in this particular case, I think all worked well. The beef is between Sugar Vibes and the state. Again, the city has no jurisdiction to say the state can't come into our city. We exist because the state allowed us to. I've seen the document that was signed, was it in what's the name of the year of the restaurant? The 1847?
1847.
47.
1847. And so that document specifically the state gave us power to become a city. And that does not give us the right to overthrow the state government. So it's difficult. Anyone else wants to chime in? That's fine. Trey, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, and just to kind of go along with that, Mr. Mayor, I mean, we do have what's called home rule, right? But that only comes into effect if it's an area that hasn't been legislated or controlled by the state. In other words, as long as the state hasn't taken a position or established the rules or laws in a certain area, then the city is free to legislate as they see fit. But in areas such as OSHA, or anytime you see a state enforcement agency of any kind, the city doesn't necessarily have the right to say, no, your authority stops at our boundaries. In fact, it has no authority to do that, just like the mayor was saying. So I think we have to sit back and as a community, as a council, and maybe put personal opinions or personal beliefs a little bit to the side and say, okay, what can the city do? And you asked, Councilor, what can we do legally? And the answer is very little that we can do legally. Certainly, there's some matters of professional courtesy that might allow the OSHA or an enforcement agency to contact and communicate with municipalities or other agencies when they're going into their jurisdiction. But that would be more of a matter of professional courtesy. And in this case, we all kind of feel for these businesses much, but as a practical matter, there's not really anything. And I know that, they don't want to hear this. A lot of people don't want to hear this, but there's not a lot the city could do, really do. I mean, you've seen other cities, we could do we could get something and get everybody to sign on to it and petition the governor, and, you could do all that stuff and it means nothing, honestly.
Right. Yeah. And the cities that have done that, and I know there's a mayor that has really stood up and stood for his community. It doesn't do anything. It looks good. It's just talk, and signing on to something like that doesn't prove anything, doesn't do anything. It might pump up the constituency, but it's not going to really change anything the way that our laws are. It just isn't.
I think if anything, Mr. Mayor, actions like that actually put a target on our city, and it highlights your rebellion against
Yes.
your useless rebellion, because it is totally ineffective resolutions, against mandates. Like Mr. Kennedy said, we have no power. So why put a target on your back and potentially inflict yourself to more pain from regulatory agencies? It's better to just comply or not. It's your choice, but choices have consequences.
Thank you for your advice.
Any other comments, questions?
Different subject?
What's that?
Different subject?
Sure, go ahead.
I've been talking with Councilman Bolin and with Miss Nancy about the possibility of having recycling facility, some sort of recycling facility in our community, in our town here, versus everyone from here and from Sweet Home having to drive to Albany. And Miss Nancy's done some research, and I barely understand it, but Miss Nancy, could you give us a little report on what you found out so far? And I think that we should consider having something like this in our town.
Sure. So let me start with when Kamal mentions recycling, it's not the broad recycling. It is a particular bottles and can take back program,
Right.
the Oregon beverage recycling program that he's looking at. So I did contact the Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative, which runs the recycling centers in the state. They go back 40 years to create this, what were a series of regional co-ops into now the state co-op. They have several programs. Albany and Corvallis both have kind of a freestanding building where bottles and cans are recycled. The OBRC is not particularly interested in pursuing more of those facilities. They are expensive to operate because they're staffed during the day hours, and you have to have a facility. They have been working a lot with grocery stores to have take-back programs. Fred Meyer has been kind of the champion here in terms of putting in what they call green bag programs. These work with an app on your phone. You get a particular bag, you print your label on it, you put your recycled containers in it, put it in a drop box. Sometime in the next 10 days, it goes to one of the sorting centers. They count your items, and then they credit the money in your app on your account, as opposed to the traditional kind of can or bottle drop where you put things in a machine, you get a receipt, you go into the cashier and get cash. There are no grocery stores in Lebanon that are working with OBRC to put these facilities in. Walmart has said kind of a definite no. Safeway has been iffy on whether or not they would consider doing this kind of a drop situation. They are talking about a pilot program where they would put in a container, like a shipping container, and modify it with some kind of a drop slot. It's got a computer barcode reader on it, I think, of some kind, so that they know what's been dropped in, and when there are a certain number of containers, apparently they will send someone to come and pick that up and clear it out. They do say that there would be a requirement if the city were to put one of those facilities in for someone to go out several times a day to move the bags from the bottom, where they drop in through the drop slot, further back into the container so that the drop slot remains open and doesn't get clogged. So there would be some work effort. There would be a need to connect the facility to electricity to power the computer system that's on it, and the city would ostensibly pay that electric bill, but it is something that could potentially be done, and as a model project might be something where OBRC would fund acquiring the container. Although I must say that based upon the national shipping challenges, the entire supply chain, I'm not sure if we could find a container right now. Anyway, this is not in use to ship things back and forth. But that would perhaps be the most likely scenario, unless we could talk the Safeway into remodeling or building some kind of a drop container on their site. And again, Safeway so far has not been interested, but I understand they maybe have a new owner or a new regional owner who may be more interested. I don't know that anyone has spoken with them, but the general consensus from OBRC was that conversation would probably be better if it came from an elected official than from OBRC saying, we really think you ought to do this, because they've had that conversation multiple times. So that's kind of where it would go. If we were to pursue the container, we'd have to find a site. We'd have to be able to figure out who might be assigned the task of going in and shuffling bags, and how that would work, in particular on things like weekends where city employees aren't working. Is that going to be a city employee job? Chief Stevenson and I have talked about whether or not that could be something that an inmate worker would be assigned to do as part of their jail time. But we really haven't solidified how that might work. Wanted to know if the council was interested in pursuing that before we spent a lot of time working through it. So there you go. That's what I know, which is not a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy. It's a lot more than you think it is. My issue with attaching to a store, for example, Walmart has a couple of kiosks that you can take your cans to, but you don't get cash. You get a gift certificate to Walmart. So you can only spend it there. And so that's my issue with Safeway is that they would do the same thing. But I really like the container idea, certainly, especially if it's a pilot project, which means that, you know, we could be a showstop for that project if it's successful.
I would be real hesitant for the city to take that on. I think it's a good project. I think it would be a good community project for someone to take on, but I just see a lot of logistics and costs involved down the road on that. And I immediately thought of the inmates, the trustees, and that would be a great thing. But I just want to be very careful on that, because I just think that we could be getting into a whole world of something we don't want to get into. I too think that we should have a recycling center here, and I wish the state would put one in. It's ridiculous trying to take cans into Safeway or Walmart. It's horrible. It's dirty. It's disgusting. And from what I've heard is the drop-off place in Albany is really nice. I haven't been there, but I've heard that you just put it in your bag and take it in and drop it off. And if we could have something like that here, it'd be great. But again, I just want to be careful that the city doesn't take on too much responsibility on something like that. Other comments?
Even if you're using inmate or trustee, they're overseen by one of our folks. So there's still a cost involved there. And you're taking them out of the facility out there several times a day. I don't see how that would pencil out very well.
Yeah.
Well, it would be a police officer who would be doing that, who would oversee that work crew, so to speak, even if it was one person. But that is what you'd have to have, right? Not a civilian, but a sworn police officer.
If you're dismissed on weekends, you're talking a sworn officer, and I know Frank's got a lot of them out there that aren't working very much, so he could probably spare one.
I figured Frank could be doing
That's
it himself.
sarcastic if you don't know KJ.
You know, it'd be a 24/7 job too. You'd have to do it at night.
Yeah.
People will be going there all hours of the day to drop their bag off.
Yeah. If there is some kind of incentive for some private organization to do it, that would be really the key. If some organization somehow got a percentage of it, or I don't know, it just seems like that would be a better way to go. Oh, and there's the chief. He heard how many officers he has available.
So
and
he
he popped right back in, didn't he?
I heard that, KJ.
You know I'm taking care of you, Frank.
What I find interesting is if you ever go to that location in Albany and watch for a while, because it's a long wait, no matter how many cans you have or bottles you have, it's interesting to me that it doesn't pay for itself, because it sure does seem like it does. So I don't know all the financial ins and outs of it, but when I first looked at it, I thought, well, this would be great for a city to have, because if it doesn't generate income, it certainly pays for itself. They do have people working inside, plus they have the warehouse location, which is where the activities really happen and the trucks come in and out. And Nancy's research shed some light on the fact that that it's a state project. But I don't know if I agree that if we did do this, that it wouldn't be run by the city. For it to be run properly, you have to deal with the homeless situation. But then if you're just putting bags in a container, it probably wouldn't cause that much of an issue. But I do think that we should research this a little bit more, especially since Sweet Home doesn't have one, and everybody who collects bags. I mean, we don't go to Walmart because Walmart's just one bag, but for those families that spend a month or 2 or 3 collecting bags, it's a lot of bags, and it's about an hour to 2 hour wait, even at the Albany indoor. So when you go, Mayor, they have 2 sections. One where you can drop a bag off, and they actually charge a fee for that. Or you can stand in line, put your own bottles in, and get cash right then and there.
Oh, okay.
So I think the container suggestion is the bag. They probably will charge a fee for it, but you still get cash for it, but it won't be as much, and it comes to your bank account instead of being able to get cash right then and there.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and I will say, it is not a moneymaker. So if you think about the deposit, right, the distributor pays that deposit, then the grocery store pays the distributor when they take delivery of the filled bottles. Then the grocery store collects the deposit from you when you buy the bottles or cans, and then you take them back and the distributor finally gets their money back. So that 10 cents on each item just rotates through those people. The way that they fund the operating costs are, they're 50% funded by grocery stores within a 3-mile radius and 50% by the beverage manufacturers pay the operating costs. And the deal for the grocery stores on that, the reason they pay it is they move from having to take up to 144 containers from a person a day to being limited to 24 containers per person per day. And that cuts the amount of work that they're doing in the grocery store in terms of taking containers. That's really the payoff on the grocery store side, but there is a cost to the grocery and to the manufacturers to have that facility. And so, no, I too had thought, well, it could be a Boy Scout fundraiser or a Boys and Girls fundraiser to have the thing out there, and you get teenagers who get assigned to go out and shuffle things, but they're not going to make any money on the deal, and neither will the city.
Okay.
Any other comments? Any other councilor comments?
I guess I do have a question is, and I think Nancy made the question, is this something that the council wants to do a little bit more research on and see if it can be viable for the future of Lebanon to have some sort of facility that helps with these bottles?
I think the information that she found was very good. And I think maybe if there's a little more research we can do and not spend a ton of time on it, but spend some more time just to see if there's anything viable that we could do to help the community, I think would be positive. Without us spending money and without the city, wasting resources.
I was just disappointed that we weren't eligible for an actual center. That was kind of my hope. And when we talked earlier, Mr. G and I, that was our hope, and it kind of devolved from there to this potential, one-off that the more you talk about it, the more you listen about it, it does seem to raise some concerns, but.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, look into it. Just don't spend a ton of time.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Public press. Do we have any press? I don't think we even have anybody on here.
We do not. No.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. The next scheduled council meeting is a new one added in October 27th at noon. October 27th at noon is going to be an executive session. It'll be on Zoom. You'll get the information sent out to you. And then the next scheduled meeting, regular meeting, is November 10th at 6 p.m. And that will be on Zoom unless otherwise notified. All right. With that, Rebecca, even though she's sleeping, she would be happy to know that we're done before 7:30. So God rest her soul. All right. You guys, thank you, everybody. And the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.